Hey everyone, it's Midnight Spectre here, and in the last video I said I was working on a more serious video, and this is it. It's not the entire history of stuffed animals, but there's a lot of info in here, and I thought it might be kind of a fun video to share. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It'll put a smile on my face. So, everyone has seen or owned a stuffed animal, I assume. A cute, fuzzy little animal that brightens up your day every time you see them. Your favorite nighttime companion, someone you can share your secrets to or let your emotions out to. And you have two people to thank for the invention of these wonderful little creatures. Stuffed animals have been around quite a long time. History suggests that stuffed animals may have been invented by the Romans in the 300 BC, because many children couldn't afford the carved wooden toys sold to wealthy families, so toys made from straw and rags were given to them to play with. The first credited person to create stuffed animals was Marguerite Steiff, who would create stuffed animals and make them into pincushions and give them to her best friends. Richard Steiff, upon seeing this talent, started designing other animals and eventually went on to found the Steiff Company. The grandpappy of all stuffed animals, the teddy bear, was developed simultaneously by two toy makers, Morris Mitchum in the US and toy maker Richard Steiff in Germany in the early 20th century. If you're into collecting stuffed animals, or even if you're not, the name probably sounds familiar, and these bears often sought to imitate the form of real-life bear cubs. And I'm sure you've heard the story before, but the name Teddy and teddy bear comes from former US President Theodore Roosevelt. You know, the guy from Night in the Museum? Anyway, the name originated from an incident during one of Theodore's hunting trips to Mississippi in November of 1902. During this hunting trip, someone cornered and tied up a bear to a tree and suggested Theodore shoot the bear. He refused to, and this story eventually made its way into a political cartoon for the Washington Post, where Morris Mitchum saw the comic and was inspired by it and created a teddy bear in honor of Theodore Roosevelt. The bear sold very well. Now, a lot of these stuffed animals are kind of crude in design. Marguerite stuffed animals were made from felt and stuffed with straw because originally they were meant to be pincushions until she noticed children playing with them. Morris Mitchum did use a softer fabric and stuffing, but it was more upholstery grade instead of the stuff that was instead of nice fabrics that we have today, which I'm very glad for. I couldn't imagine cuddling up to something stuffed with straw and made from a felt or upholstery material. I feel like that would drive my allergies insane. I just want to sneeze thinking about it. It wasn't until 1954 when the first teddy bear made from easily washable materials was produced. The toy industry expanded significantly in the 20th century, and in fact the first character stuffed animal was Peter Rabbit from the English author Beatrix Potter, which was made into a patented stuffed toy. They became so popular that many different toy makers began making their own stuffed animals during the Great Depression. Sock monkeys were created when parents turned old socks into toys for their children to play with. I really appreciate that because a nice soft friend for the night can really help to ease the burdens of your day, especially those faced during the Great Depression where you may not know where your next meal comes from or what tomorrow might bring. And as we all know here, stuffed animals are not just for kids. In 2019, a third of British adults reported sleeping with stuffed animals, and almost half had kept their childhood toys. Of course, we couldn't talk about stuffed animals and not mention the various marketing fads surrounding them. Stuffed animals are so popular because they're so versatile in what they can be. Collector's pieces, comfort objects, tools for imaginative play, and gifts for all sorts of occasions and life events, so it stands that people will want to get a slice of that plush pie. In the 90s, Ty Warner created Beanie Babies, which became a fad and were encouraged to be collected. However, we all know how that turned out. I don't think it fails even in 2023. You cannot go past a garage sale or a thrift store without seeing a bucket of Beanie Babies for sale. Although it appears they are making a comeback, so maybe I'm the silly one for laughing at the people who collected them. I actually remember when Beanie Babies crashed in value. I was about 4 or 5 years old in the 90s, and I was playing outside with my parents, and the realtor next door must have taken notice of me because she came over and gave me a basket full of Beanie Babies. Of course, you cannot forget my personal holy grail of stuffed animals, which are Animal Alley stuffed animals. In my opinion, these are the best balance of cute and realistic stuffed animals that have been made to date and are still decently huggable. I'll never forget my Toys R Us Animal Alley at display. Their whole theme was that it was like an alley somewhere, and so there were cardboard cutouts of crooked fences, trash cans, shaggy grass cutouts, and now this is when I really wish I had a time machine. Forget investing in Bitcoin when it was at cents, or investing in Apple when it was circling the drain. No, let me go back to the early 2000s when I was just a kid and let me walk into my old Toys R Us and let me have one of everything. See, the magic of Toys R Us is that when you were a kid and a store full of toys and other kid stuff, and the shelves just go over your head, it was pure magic, but the most magical part was the Animal Alley section. Just imagine me as the animal kid who loves stuffed animals and looking up at seeing the horses, the unicorns, the pegasi, dogs, cats, elephants, and giraffes all piled high in displays over my head with them looking down on me, almost begging you to take them home with you. Another fad were pillow pets and stuffies. Both of these sold very well and are pretty novel ideas. Pillow pets, as the name implies, is that it's a pillow and a pet. They were designed to give pillows a bit more personality. I mean, it worked. Show a kid a normal plain pillow, and then show them a pillow pet of their favorite animal, and the choice is quite simple for them. They're going to go for the pillow pet. I never personally had a pillow pet because I was quote-unquote too old for them by the time they came out, and I've got so many back and neck problems, I much prefer having a pillow that would support my head way better. Now, stuffies were kind of a weird one for me because I don't know who designed them and why, but I never liked them. They had pretty quality fabric, but designs are really off-putting, and I couldn't imagine putting a bunch of stuff on a stuffed animal and then going to sleep with it. I know as a little kid, if I had a stuffy, it would have been chock full of snacks and Legos, and probably get really gross really fast because I'd forget that I left a snack inside of one of the pockets, and I wouldn't realize it until it started to stink or grow mold. Another huge marketing success in the stuffed animal world was Build-A-Bear, which was born in the 90s from an idea the creator's daughter had when she suggested they make their own stuffed animals, and the first Build-A-Bear workshop was created in 1997 at the St. Louis Galleria. I wonder if it's still open. I'd love to go there and see if there's any history there. I just think about everyone who's had or has a stuffed animal from Build-A-Bear. It's such a novel idea, honestly. It really makes the idea of getting a stuffed animal more personal. I remember as a kid, my grandparents took me Build-A-Bear, and it was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. You get in line, you choose an animal, and then you go up to someone working the stuffing machine, and you get to choose how firm or how soft you want your stuffed animal to be. And then you get a heart, and you kiss it, and make a wish. There's even an area where you groom your new stuffed friend and name it, and give it a birth certificate. I still have mine, it's a horse. Even as an adult, it's a magical experience. I remember when I bought a de-stuffed Big Macintosh Build-A-Bear from eBay in 2018, and so I had the great idea to go to Build-A-Bear and get it stuffed because they stuff and restuff their stuffed animals for free. And even as an adult, they still had me kiss a heart and make a wish and go through the whole charade of doing everything that you do as a kid. And I thought it was really magical, honestly. Even as an adult, I still loved it. I lost his birth certificate, but of course I still have Big Macintosh, and I slept with him every night until I got my first custom My Little Pony plush. The most recent marketing success has been Squishmallows, which honestly I wasn't old enough to live firsthand through the Beanie Baby craze, even though I was alive during it and remember the crash, but I have to imagine this is what it's like. Squishmallows were designed by Jonathan Kelly on a trip to Japan, and he was inspired by the cute Moki designs of some of the stuffed animals they had there. They grew in popularity during the pandemic through social media outlets like TikTok, where collectors would show their collections. I've had people jump over me and almost dive into the bins at the Goodwill outlet to get Squishmallows that have been donated. I've heard of fights breaking out over them, scalpers going to a store and buying up a whole entire stock of a certain squish just to go online and sell them at a drastically inflated price. It's nuts. I'll just stick to my Meadow Squishmallow for now. And yeah, that's really about it. Just a fun little passion project I decided to put together after the first one did pretty well, and I had a lot of engagement on. I'm sure this one won't take off either, but we'll see what the algorithm does for this video. Although this isn't the entirety of the history of stuffed animals, but this is the best I could find. You'd think there'd be more history about stuffed animals considering they've been a part of humanity for so long, but hey, what can you do? It's kind of sad to think about, but I really don't think kids play with stuffed animals or toys that much anymore. I remember as a kid, I'd always have a stuffed animal tucked under my arm, walking around, and I'd see other kids with their stuffed animals. But the few times I go anywhere nowadays, I usually see kids glued to their phones. But enough of me being an old person talking down the younger generation. I hope everyone's enjoyed this week's video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope everyone has a great week, and see you later.